All right, well, everyone, this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came in, actually a few questions came in here. See how we get through them. First question is spiritual pleasure. That's what we're seeking, right? That's what we want in this world, even though we live in the physical world, right? We want to draw close to God. How do you do that? Through Torah mitzvahs, right? Ramchal brings down, others bring down as well. Question is, if physical pleasure is meaningless, yeah, why are we allowed to enjoy the physical world? Now, who says physical pleasure is meaningless? Well, the Christians will say, the physical world is bad. It's evil. Right? That's what they'll say. That's what they'll definitely say. So we don't look at the physical world as being evil. We have the ability to sanctify the physical world. Now, sanctifying the physical world is hard. That I would agree. That I would agree 100% is a hard thing. Why? Why? Very simple. Physical world, even though we come from the physical world, has an effect. You have a struggle between body and soul. Right? That's the struggle a person's born with, and they'll have it till the day they die. The physical part of the body, i.e. the body, wants to go after the physical. The soul wants to go after the spiritual. So as we always say, if you do the right thing, give into your spiritual side, Torah mitzvahs, you elevate the body and the soul. You do the opposite, go after the body, you go against the body, right? You debase the body. You debase the soul. So now, that's really the base of this question. So really the physical world, I mean, if I eat something, I drink something, I'm not allowed to get benefit. I mean, you have to make a blessing. Jews should certainly make a blessing. There's no question. Otherwise, you may be considered a thief. You're enjoying this world without, thanking God for it. So you're allowed to have pleasure. You have to know how to have pleasure. That's a different thing. That's a totally different thing. But I would agree, the only real pleasure is in the spiritual world, which we can't understand and we can't fathom. Right? As my Rebbe would say, never met anyone been in that world and come back. Right? Very true. Right? No one's ever been in that world and come back in general. So the spiritual world, yeah, that's the greatest pleasure. Yeah, it is ultimately the greatest pleasure. When are we going to get that ultimate pleasure? Hopefully, after 120 years, we'll get reward for what we've done. And we'll have that ultimate pleasure. Now, physical, now the next part here is, or this is what the premise of the question is, but a physical pleasure is meaningless. Yeah, not all physical pleasure is meaningless. A person does physical exercise, good for the body. It's not meaningless unless you worship the body. If I eat to sustain the body, that's a physical pleasure. Yeah. So I'm going to, I can enjoy food, just can't be a glutton, can't be overweight, have to exercise. What about the greatest pleasure in this world? Right? We'll keep this clean so I don't get banned here. Yeah. Person's married, have children. That's the greatest physical pleasure. That's not meaningless. I mean, it could be abused like anything else. But if it's harnessed and used in the right way, totally not meaningless. So there are things in the physical world that have meaning. There are a lot of things I would agree, waste of time. I would agree we get distracted from. That's true. That 100% is true. Yeah, but doesn't, we have to live in this world. So really the question is, how do I navigate the physical world? We come from the dust of the four corners of the earth. So how do I navigate that? How do I utilize it in the right way? See, we're not Christians and saying everything's bad. Not everything's bad. Even by them, the greatest pleasure is bad. So we don't hold that way. We hold you have to know how to use the physical world, how to interact in the physical world. That's not an easy thing. I mean, it's summertime most places in the world. It's very hot. Some women, don't care, so they don't wear very much. So that's a huge test. It's a test that anyone goes outside. So people fail the test. What are we going to do? Not walk outside? Or they're not going to go to work? I mean, it's a test. Sure, it's a test. So we're allowed to enjoy things in this world. The Torah teaches you how to do that. Now, there were great people that, only ate things that were bitter. Because they didn't want to enjoy this world. They don't want to have any benefit, quote unquote, from this world. Okay, that's not the majority. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, I guess they were about 89 or 95, whatever. It says, what's the real way to keep Torah mitzvah? Is bread and water. No extras, no frills. Bread and water. All right, who's holding there today? Not too many people. Not too many people. So you have to know how to interact in the physical world. You have to know how to enjoy the physical world. Sit down at the Shabbos table, and you eat better than you would during the week. That's an obligation. That's not just, well, it's a good idea. That's an obligation. So if that's an obligation, what does God want? He wants to us enjoy. 100%. So really the question is, how am I supposed to enjoy? Right? So I agree. The only true pleasure is in the spiritual world. True. But I can enjoy in this world. Not all pleasure in this world is meaningless. A lot of it is, I would agree. No, I'm going to disagree. That's true. A lot of it is meaningless. And a lot of people get caught up in what is meaningless. And they don't see what is true. And what the true pleasure is. That is true. I think the vast majority of the world is like that. Nonetheless, all physical things, meaning all physical pleasure, says it's all bad. Some of it or a lot of it may be. Okay? That would mean, you got to say, well, you're allowed to eat. You got to sustain the body. Physical pleasure. Someone's going to tell me you enjoy sweets. They have a nice piece of chocolate or a number of pieces of chocolate or ice cream or other things. Okay, you make a blessing on it. Might be not healthy for you, other thing. Okay, it's a pleasure. Am I allowed to enjoy it? I'm allowed to enjoy it. Am I allowed to abuse it? Be overweight and other things? No. That you're not allowed to do. That's not a contradiction. You're allowed to enjoy this world. But God wrote a book. He passed it down to Moses, gave it to us exactly how to do it. So now you might say, well, maybe we don't do such a good job because a lot of people have other issues. True. That might be true. But it's not all or nothing. Right? It's not just, wow, it's all spiritual. We got to focus on the spiritual and, not focus on the physical. You need both. We are a physical and a spiritual being. You have to know how to utilize both properly. But it's kind of hard in this world when there are a lot of temptation. There's a lot of temptation, a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations. They have to know how to navigate it. But should a person be worried about if they, enjoy a nice piece of cake, some ice cream, they have to worry? You have to worry. Not a problem. If a person's a Jew, they make a blessing on it. Very good. You're allowed to enjoy it. Don't go overboard. Don't shove 5 pieces of cake in your mouth. Don't be overweight. Don't cause other issues. Okay? But it's not a contradiction over here. It's true. In the spiritual world, that's the greatest pleasure. That's true. I mean, again, never met anyone's been there and come back. But that's what we understand. At the same time, I need to take care of the body. I can enjoy this world. But just like anything else, person, gets a new appliance. Kid gets a new toy, different things. Before you use it, what do you have to do? Read the instructions, usually. A lot of people don't like to read instructions. Okay. Right? But you should read the instructions, know how it works. So how can a person be born in this world and not have instructions? Not know how it works? So you got to say, it depends what family you're born into, and people get lost. So yeah, okay, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things, but how could this world be navigated without any guidance? What's the answer? What's my answer always? My heart tells me. I'm going to do what I want. I don't need to navigate anything. I have my own moral compass. Okay? That moral compass changes. That means morality is relative. Goes against 13 principles of the Rambam, the principles of faith. God is absolute. God doesn't change. Morality doesn't change. But you have to know how to navigate it. And we live in a very messed up world, which we messed up. But you have to know spiritually how to navigate it. So God gave us instructions. God gave us rabbis in every generation to give it over. So you have to know how to tap in. And I would say most people do a bad job of tapping in. Just like, a person has the internet, they have to have a filter. They have to know how to filter out the bad. So do in everyday life. You have to know how to filter out the bad. You have to know how to navigate it. It's not all or nothing over here. Right? The Mesilas Yesharim and Path of the Just brings down the very beginning. There are people out there who want to be aesthetic, right? And they want to live this aesthetic life. They want to, they want to abuse the body. They want to run around in the snow when it's 40 below with a tank top and shorts. They think that's being very righteous, being very pious. Comes on the Ramchal over there and says, I beg to differ. They're an idiot. That's not how you show that you're close to God by doing that. God doesn't want you to abuse the body. And even when the Torah says by Yom Kippur, it says you got an obligation. Inu es nafsho seichem. You have an obligation to what? To afflict the body. How do we understand afflicting the body? Had someone whip us? So the Gemara understands afflicting the body from other sources. Other sources is what afflicting the body means? Fasting. That you're allowed to do, that you're obligated to do on Yom Kippur and on the other fast days. That's afflicting the body. Okay. But if I afflict the body in other ways, that's, does God want me running around in the snow when it's 20 below? I mean, it's hard to imagine. It's like, here in Israel, the next 2 weeks, it's going to be like almost 100 degrees, 95 to 100 degrees, or like 35 to 38 degrees Celsius. It's going to be pretty hot. Yeah. So it's hard to imagine, thinking of cold weather, unless you're eating something, cold and you get brain freeze, but okay. Yeah. He doesn't want us running around the snow with a tank top and shorts. He doesn't want us to afflict the body. That's what he wants. He doesn't want. He wants us to live up to what we're supposed to do. And that means you have to know how to navigate. You have to know how to navigate the world. And that's not an easy thing. That's not an easy thing because there are a lot of stumbling blocks in between. A lot of stumbling blocks. And we ourselves do. Others do for us. We tap into it. Okay. So you have to know how to navigate. Doesn't mean I can never get pleasure. You have to know how to get pleasure. You have to know how to utilize it. Do I get anything else? If I know how to utilize it in the right way, person's child gets married, let's say. Yeah, use that as an example. Time of great joy, usually. Usually. So you got the band playing, people complain it's too loud and this and that. Usually people, running around and this and that. You've ever seen a Jewish wedding? Huge pleasure. Huge amount of pleasure. You know how you're going to pay for it and everything else. Huge amount of pleasure. Shouldn't be able to enjoy it. Yeah, some people have heart attacks before it because of all the expenses. But in general, why wouldn't I be allowed to enjoy it? There are cases where a person's in mourning. So, how much can you participate? Okay, there are halachas governing this. But that's it. Weddings are time a huge joy. I can't enjoy it. Why can't I enjoy it? Okay, there are ways to do it. 100%. Some people go a little bit overboard, yeah. When it comes to, how much food and, they see there's a lot of alcohol and, people getting sloshed and drunk and this, that. Okay, there's things that shouldn't be done. That's going too far. That's a good example. A person wants to have a l'chaim, some wine, some schnapps, some, whiskey, whatever. Who says you got to take 8 shots? Are there some people that, get carried away? Yeah. Is that what God wants? No. He wants you to enjoy it. But again, there are halachas governing that. How much should you drink at a wedding? It depends. Person wants to have a cup of wine, a shot of something, okay, within reason. Someone gets plastered, they went overboard. That's what God wants. They say drink responsibly. Okay, you want to drink, good. No one says it's forbidden, but you sit there and get plastered, that's a problem. So like anything else, you want to enjoy, you have to know. You have to know how to enjoy. But it's not one extreme or the other. It's not either I'm going to do this or do that. Right? According to that, it's either I have to be happy all the time or be sad all the time. I mean, a lot of things to be depressed about in life. I don't think there's any question. Plenty. Yeah, so you need a balance. You can't get too depressed, otherwise you won't function. And some people, live on a high and they come crashing down. I'm not talking about drugs here. You go through 75, 100 mood swings in an hour. Or course of a day. Go up and down, you hear different things, you see different things. So you have to have some sort of equilibrium. You have to have a balance. Right? Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, there are many things that are sad that happen during the day. And it's like overload. You got other things to do. It's hard. So a person needs to find the balance. But doesn't mean everything's bad. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy. You're allowed to enjoy. Yeah, I would say don't get carried away in certain things. Okay. But if a person has a balance, they know what they're doing, they have proper guidance, i.e. the Torah's guiding them, the rabbi's guiding them. So what's the problem? Shouldn't be a problem if you know how to do it. See, some people make mistakes. Sure they do. That's no question. But even the greatest people, even the greatest rabbis, they eat cake. Some of them, maybe some don't just because of, it's not healthy, whatever. But the vast majority of people enjoy food. Sometimes too much, okay, but it's like anything else. Within a certain amount, very good. You want to enjoy it? Not a problem. Couldn't that cause you to go overboard? Sure, it could. You go to a kiddush, you go to a wedding, food there up the gazoo. Plenty of meat, plenty of chicken, plenty of this, plenty of cakes, and all that. It could be a lot of waste of food also. Fine. But at the end of the day, you gotta pace yourself. Who says you gotta eat like a pig? Sometimes people go overboard. With some weddings cost in the state, I could use as part of a down payment in the house. Or a whole down payment, which sometimes people pay. It's crazy. I mean, at the end of the day, it's for one night. That's going overboard. Even if you have the money, it's still going overboard. But how much can a person eat? I would say that, and we'll keep this clean. Won't get too gross, but, a person can eat a ton of, I'm so stuffed. I can't move and this and that. Very good. Where's the food going afterwards? Where the food's going afterwards. Are you allowed to enjoy it? You're allowed to enjoy it within reason. That's what I would say. Somebody asked about men's headwear. Okay. Besides kippah, there are many other kinds of hats. Strymos, big black fedoras. What's the significance? So first question is, what's the significance? So a lot of dress today, you see by Hasidim, a lot of them have long coats. Usually black. On Shabbos, some groups of Hasidim, they'll wear, let's say, what they call the Rabaralachs, how would I call them? Told Zarin. They wear these coats that make them look like zebras. Yeah, that's, I don't know, they're kind of yellowish with black stripes, I guess. Right? So say, where do these customs come from? These are traditions they have from way back. Hundreds of years ago. In the Litvish world, in the yeshivish world today, for better or for worse, most people wear short jackets. They wear suits. That changed with the Enlightenment. Came sort of a more modern thing to do, and that's sort of what stuck. Everyone's told me, according to Chazon Ish, Rabbi Mishaya Karlitz, a blessed memory, he said in Europe, and he came from Europe to Eretz Israel, he said in Europe everyone wore long. Everyone wore long coats. Now you might see, Hasidim, you'll see that, certainly during the weekend on Shabbos. And you'll see by some Rabbanim, some rabbis, they also wear long coats. Buttons in the back. They call that, in the vernacular, they call that a frock. Now in America, even the greatest of rabbis probably wear short coats. Here in Israel, it's more accepted. Let's say on Shabbos, to wear it. It's more honorable, let's say. But if a person, let's say, is the head of an institution, runs a learning program or something, so they should dress up. Right? Well, more distinguished. My Rebbe said this many times. Anyone takes a position somewhere, they have to wear it. They should wear a bit of clothes. They have rabbinic ordination. They don't have rabbinic ordination, so the students take you more seriously in different ways. Now, in the States and in Europe, it's not the way. That's not that way. In general. You will not see a very distinguished rabbi wearing a long coat, unless he's Hasid. You won't see it. That's not the norm. It's not the norm. By Hasidim, you see that. It's the way they dress. But in the yeshiva's world, it changed. I'm not saying nothing changed for the better, but it changed. So, in religious communities, you'll see them with suits. Black with or without pinstripes. Dark gray with or without pinstripes. Blue with or without pinstripes. That's about it. So in those communities, that's what people wear. even on Shabbos. Now again, some may wear, let's say during their meal, some may wear like we'll call it a Becker shirt, I'll call it like a smoking jacket. It's like, I don't know, it's like a special thing to wear on Shabbos. But some people, again, would wear on Shabbos, depending where they're holding in the world. They'd wear like a distinguished, rabbinic garment, what we'll call a frock. That's what it's called. Again, in the States, not so common. Right? It's not so common. In Europe, probably also not so common. Right? In Israel, people wear it. Yeah, is that the majority? I wouldn't say the majority. But people wear it. So that's one thing. So a lot of the garb that's worn and the hats is from where they came from. The custom where they came. Why was that the custom? Can't answer. But that's what it was. That was the custom. That's one thing. The difference in the hats is the difference in the different types of Hasidus. You have Toldazaran, you have Boyan, you have Sadi Guru, right? Ger meaning, there are a lot of different groups. A lot of different groups of Hasidim. So why they wear different hats, I don't know. Probably where they came from. That's what they wore. So, there are different types of Hasid. It's not my expertise. What exactly they differ in, what they do and whatever. That's definitely not my area of expertise. But again, what does it represent? Most likely where they came from. How many minks it takes for that fedora? Not cheap. Definitely not cheap. Regular black hats, Borsalino can cost you $200-300. Probably more now. They have different types of black hats also. Italy makes a good amount of money on us, and religious Jews and ultra-Orthodox Jews buying these type of hats. Yeah, so there are people wear different types of hats. I don't know, some want to be more stylish, wear this type of hat, some this type of hat, whatever it is. Whatever it is. So that answers the first question. How many of them are in halacha? So halacha states, and you have to ask the modern Orthodox why they don't hold this in general. And halacha states should have your head covered twice when you pray for a guy. Yeah, so the afternoon and evening service, probably be wearing a hat. If you didn't wear a hat, does that mean you can't pray? No, doesn't mean that. In the morning, yeshiva guys are not married, so they don't wear a tallis usually. There's certain communities that do, but most don't until you're married, right? So they'll wear on their heads, they'll wear a hat also when they daven. In other words, they have the tefillin in the air, they'll put a hat on, with a jacket. Now, what if you're married? So if you're married, you have a tallis. And most people, when they pray, they put the tallis over their head. Why do they put it over their head? Extra intention. They have to wear a hat? No. In that case, they wouldn't have to wear a hat. Right? They also have a tallis covering their head. Right? So according to Mishnah Berurah seems to say that, when you pray, you should have your head covered twice. Right, so I just read something earlier that somebody there were two people walking down the street. One person was wearing a hat and jacket. The other person wasn't, just had a yarmulke on his head. Big gust of winds came. First person blew off the hat, but his yarmulke was still on his head. Second person wasn't wearing a hat, had his yarmulke blow off his head. Yeah, so what? Right? I forget exactly what the context there was. I just read it earlier. But, he seemed to say, someone who dressed in a more distinguishable way, look, big wind came along, only knocked off his head was still covered. While the other person's head wasn't covered at all. Says something. Definitely says something. Now, in the modern Orthodox world, the people, wear hats. Some do, some don't. But Chofetz Chaim seems to say that's a good thing to have it covered twice. Should have your head covered twice. Or the question is just a case to cover the head. Listen, technically speaking, you cover your head with anything. If a person's outside, they wanted to pray. They get 10 men together and they're wearing a baseball cap. Does that cover your head? Yeah, covers your head. Technically, could you wear it? Technically. Stand in front of God with a baseball cap. I don't know if it's the best thing to wear. So if you had nothing else. But see, I could go on for days about this. There's decorum when it comes to prayer. Decorum in the synagogue. There's decorum what you wear. I've seen some people, boggles the mind that they can pray in sandals. Not with socks. Tell me they have socks on is one thing. Or with shorts. I don't understand that either. Legs have to be covered. According to halacha, your legs have to be covered. Yeah. So even if a person had to make a blessing at the beach, yeah, you should cover your legs before you make the blessing. Male or female, doesn't matter. But how can people stand in front of God and say Shemona Esrei in shorts? So those questions I don't answer. You gotta ask those people. So there's no halacha to cover your legs. Not true. Totally not true. So, that now technically if they pray without their legs covered, they fulfill their obligation, yes. But think about it. You're standing in front of the King of Kings. How can you stand in front of the King of Kings in shorts? I'm not just talking about walking around the beach. I'm not talking about that. That's what you wear at the beach. Separate beach. If you're going to the beach or no one's around, whatever the case is. Yeah. Your body's got to be covered. Your legs should be covered for sure. Top should be covered when you make a blessing. You're standing in front of the King of Kings. So you're at the beach, okay. Still got to cover your legs. You're in prayer. That's how you're going to dress. Someone's asked me, what happens, you don't have time to pray or you have very little time to pray and you're in work clothes. Otherwise, time's going by, it's close to sundown. You got to pray the afternoon service. What do? You won't have time to change. You pray in your work clothes. You don't have a choice. Is that the ideal? No. Is that what I'm striving for? No. But that's what you do. I was coming back from up north the other day. Was it Monday? Last week. It was last week where, might have been Monday, I don't remember. Anyway, it's coming back. I saw like some cars stopped on the side of the road. And it was like right before sundown. I saw people outside the side of the road praying because they knew they weren't going to make it. Is that ideal to pray on the side of a highway? No. Definitely not. But in that case, you don't have a choice. Sun's going down. What are you supposed to do? Right? So someone will say, but even if the sun's going down, don't I have an obligation? God will understand. I'd rather pray, with 10 men, but I'm not going to get there. It's going to be too late. Okay, it's too late. And if a woman, didn't get a chance to light the Shabbos candles now it's sundown, she can't light. That's the mitzvah baba avera, right? When you're doing the mitzvah, you're doing the transgression at the same time. You can't do that. Time passed. So what do you do if time passed? It's over. Right? And if you have a split second to do it right before the sun goes down, fine. And if not, you can't do it. Someone say, what? Can't light Shabbos candles? I can only light Shabbos candles before sundown. That's the halacha before sundown. After sundown doesn't help. Doesn't God see? I really want to do the mitzvah. If you really want to do the mitzvah, do it at the right time. Don't just do it when you're dilly-dallied and you forgot. You're right at the right time. So they're not going to understand. Halacha is halacha. Remember one thing: the Torah is not a pretzel. You cannot turn the Torah into a pretzel. So you got to do it at the right time. And if you do it too late, and it's already Shabbos, You transgressed. You didn't even get the mitzvah. Just the opposite. You didn't get the mitzvah. You transgressed. So then the last part of the question is, but it doesn't matter which one we wear. So let's make clear how a person's going to dress, what yarmulke, if you're a guy, you're going to wear on your head, will determine what type of community you want to be part of. Who you want to identify with. Person wants to wear, let's say, one of these big knitted yarmulkes like the nach. A person identifies with Breslin. I mean, there were other type of yarmulkes also. But, if someone's Hasidus to wear a certain type of yarmulke, a certain type of dress. It depends who you want to identify with. Person identifies more modern Orthodox, different issue. Right? So dress code, you watch my video on choosing Jewish community. So on my YouTube channel, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, spoke about it. Right? I spoke about it there. Different types of communities and what the differences are in Hashkafa and Jewish philosophy and the difference in dress. So that I addressed. That I spoke about. So someone asked, it doesn't matter which one we wear. It does matter if you want to identify with a community. If you want to identify with a community, certain things you should wear. If you're just starting out, you're not sure. Okay, so you can wear a number of things, doesn't matter. But bottom line is, you want to know at some point which community you identify with, what their standard is, what they wear. Right? Then you wear what they wear because you want to fit in. And if it's difficult to fit in, then don't go in that community. There are other communities, it's easier. I think it's easy if let's say you have a community of, with a bunch of different communities within that community. That's different. That'd be different. Right? But if you go to, if you're going to go to a certain synagogue, and this is the way most people dress, I would say, when in Rome, do like the Romans. When you're ready for it. If it's a more casual dress, okay. So a person has to see where they fit in. Where they fit in philosophically. And then what are they going to do about dress? This is an issue. Right? Women also. This is a definite issue. So, it's not an easy thing to do. Change, a person been dressing similar way for the last 10, 15 years or more, to overnight start changing your wardrobe, okay, I would say take it step by step. When I tell a woman throw out all her jeans and and all that, no, not necessarily. It depends where they're holding the process. Definitely. Right? But at some point they have to change over. That's just what they're gonna have to do. For a woman, any community. So the question is, how long is the skirts? The women, cover their legs. Some communities, women don't cover their legs, even if they have a skirt. So you tell me, come on, you were just outside, like 95 degrees, right? 32, 33 Celsius, pretty darn hot. There are plenty of women out there dressed without, not that I was looking, but that are dressed with a skirt and the legs uncovered. Now, there are a number of rabbinical authorities that hold from the knee down has to be covered. Torah obligation. Torah obligation covered from the knee down. Whether it's thigh highs, whether it's stockings, whatever it is, they have to be covered. So how do some women don't cover their legs? Like I said, I don't have any good answers. How do some women that are married, wear a baseball cap to cover their hair when most of their hair is sticking out? Right? So someone will say, well, at least part of the hair is covered. That's not the halacha. The halacha is your whole head has to be covered if you're married, if a woman's married. Yeah, if part of the hair comes out, the amount of a tefach, a fist, the amount of a fistful, some of the hair sticks out, okay. No one's saying at the outset that's what you should do. If it happens, one thing, but the whole head has to be covered. The whole hair, right. The whole hair has to be covered. So if that's true, how can some women cover part of their hair? Someone asked me this. They ended up converting, at least not as far as I know. And they were furious. They were furious. They said, how can these women consider themselves religious? They don't cover their hair when they're married, or they only cover partially. So don't they have an obligation to cover all their hair? Yes. So why don't they? Why are you asking me? There's no heter, there's no permissibility. They have to answer for themselves. I'm not going to answer for them. Some may say, well, it's better than nothing. I don't know. If the hair has to be covered, it's not covered. The conservative movements, some women, will cover their heads with the doily. They'll cover their hair with the doily. You know what a doily is? Doily is something made, it's like a satin thing you put right here. Put right on your head. Guess what? It's see-through. It doesn't cover all the hair. What does that accomplish? Nothing. It's like a feminine type of yarmulke. Okay? There are people who do it. They'll say, showing respect for God, at least I'll cover, I'll put that on my head. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Better off wearing a baseball cap. That covers more. This doesn't do anything, it's see-through. I was in the synagogue once for something, and they had a mechitza, they had a separation between men and women. Minimal size made on a plexiglass. You're going to say about separation? Doesn't separate between men and women? Yes. Where do we learn it out from? The Beis Hamikdash. Torah says that's where we learn it out from. Men were on top, women were on the bottom. Right, or sorry, the opposite. Men were on the bottom, women were up top. You couldn't see each other. You can say, but it's a mechitza. This case is a mechitza. It's plexiglass. Called down the hockey game. What did push someone into the, into the boards or the penalty box. How does that? They're going to say it, but it's a separation between men and women. Yeah. If I can see women and they can see me, how does that help? If you're going to tell me you can't see in, they can't see out, certain type of glass, whatever, good. That's very good. But if you can see straight in, they can see straight out, how does that help? What would someone answer? Still a separation. Okay, it's still a separation. Okay. It defeats the whole purpose of separation. Now you want to get technical. Did I fulfill my obligation? I didn't fulfill my obligation. Let's say they did. Let's say you fulfill your obligation in such a way. Is that the best way to do it? Is that even 60% the best way to do it? No. Bottom line. Right? So those questions I don't answer. Why do people do this, do that? Don't look, but they're not covering their hair. I said, you're right. But they have an obligation to cover their hair if they're married. You're right. So this person was like rip roaring mad. They said, what are they doing? I go ask them. And if you have a good answer, tell me. I want to hear. I want to hear why. Are they going to have a good answer? No, not going to have a good answer. Forbidden. How they justify it? Yeah. I got enough things I have to answer for after 120 years. I have to come up with some crazy answer why they justify what they do that's wrong. They can do that. Yeah, let me see the other questions here. Changing shirts and other clothes for the 9 days. Yeah, what do the 9 days represent? What do the 9 days represent? Avelis. What's Avelis? Avelis is mourning, right? The mourning custom. For the mourning for a parent, a sibling, spouse, God forbid, a child. The first 7 days you can't do laundry. Yeah. And then you don't have to get your hair cut. Until someone says you look like a bear. So I remember, my father died of blessed memory, so saw someone's like, wow, you look like a bear. It's like, oh, great, now I can get a haircut. You have to wait till someone says you look like a bear. Can't listen to music. Can't go to weddings. Right? When you're in mourning, you don't change clothing, at least during the first 7 days. So you don't wash clothes. It's about mourning. We're not in tune with mourning customs. So it looks kind of strange. You can't wear something freshly laundered. That's the point. That's going to really be by like a shirt or pants for a guy, something like that. It doesn't apply to underwear or socks or a t-shirt, something like that. Right? So let's say you had all laundered stuff now. So either right before the 9 days, you had a whole bunch of shirts. Either you wear a lot of them together, which I do normally, or you sit on them so they look wrinkled, at least a little bit used. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. That's the point. It's mourning. You're mourning for the most serious destruction that's ever happened in the world. And that is the destruction of the temple. We don't, and what's the worst part of it? We don't see God's presence in this. We have no clue what goes on and why things happen. God's presence not revealed. We're living in a world of Hester b'toch Hester panim, right? Within hiddenness. Yeah, so we're not in tune with mourning customs. Okay. So now I'm giving you a reason. Giving you a very good reason. Right? Changing clothing you don't do when you're mourning. When the most severe mourning, the first 7 days, you change your clothes only for Shabbos. That's it. You only change your clothes for Shabbos. So again, we're not really in tune with mourning customs. Okay? Well, that's sort of what it represents. Someone not converted yet, but is a righteous Noahide. Are they allowed to continue pursuing a career writing fiction? Ooh. There's a boundary what they in the Noahide later is a convert. So let's say like this. Anyone in the process of conversion, de facto, they're a Noahide. But if they're already in the process of conversion, whether they were accepted by a rabbinical court or not, they can start keeping Torah mitzvahs. They can't keep Torah like a Jew. Right? On a festival, they have to, that's a great festival, that's a great Shabbos, at least once. Doesn't mean they can't dress like a Jew if they don't want to. They can. Some people dead set against it, but others say you're allowed to. You're definitely allowed to. So now, is there a difference? I don't know if there's any difference. I don't know if there's any difference if, let's say, you have a career writing fiction. I would say that even if you're a Noah as a moral imperative, I wouldn't make it steamy. Keep it clean, proper values, and things like that. Now, someone will say, technically, could they write whatever they want? Technically, but they shouldn't be graphic. So I would say it's a moral imperative. No. There's no difference. There'd be no difference once they convert. But there are many things they could write about. Before they convert. Could they write about, it's fiction anyway, so it really doesn't apply. But, let's say, could they write about characters speaking Lashon Hara against each other? Yeah? Could they speak about, murder, other things? They could. I'm saying even if it's not fiction. Again, it shouldn't be so graphic. I would say it shouldn't be so graphic. Right? But otherwise, there shouldn't be too many restrictions. Right? As long as it's a good theme, there's a moral to the theme, and talking about, I don't know, things that necessarily are forbidden to speak about, and a Noahide has more leeway for sure. They have more leeway. But I'm saying, even if they would have more leeway, would you write like Stephen King? I would say no. Yeah, would you write like steamy, Harlequin romances? No. Could you? Could. I don't think there's anything forbidden about it. Right? The question is, it's a moral imperative, should you? That's the question. There's not a problem with moral imperative in general, so, almost anything goes, but you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful on the topics. Somebody asked before, President Herzog gave a great speech before Congress. Did not hear about it. No, I heard about it. I didn't hear what he said. I heard bits and pieces, but about the right for Israel to defend themselves and other things, but I'm not, very nice, spoke in front of Congress. Okay. There's still people boycotted him, these anti-Semites, okay. He's a secular Jew, it's all about politics, so. Yeah, we have a right to defend ourselves. I don't need him to say it in front of Congress, right? And then they came out with a resolution. Oh, those idiots said that we're anti-Semites, and so that Israel's apartheid. So they passed something saying it's not true, whatever. Based on that, okay, that was good. That was good. But whatever. I'm getting into politics. I'm getting into politics so much and really care less, what they say. A person's probably a heretic anyway. Guarantee doesn't keep Shabbos. I mean, I think it's too traditional. So who cares? If he made Jewish people look good, okay, so let me see, he drank something or ate something, made a blessing. That's more of a kiddush Hashem. That's more of a sanctification of God's name than giving a speech in front of the Congress. Somebody asks, I heard that women don't reincarnate. Yeah, I also heard that. I also heard someone recently say that why do women not reincarnate in general? So the Rabbi explained, because normally when they come to this world, they get it right the first time. Men have to come back a whole bunch of times because we don't get it right. Women are, women on a higher level. That was their explanation. There are other explanations, could be. And that's one I just recently heard. I just recently heard. So could be any number of reasons. Do we have the opportunity to come back or not? I don't know. It seems from this, women don't come back. Women do not get reincarnated. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. Someone has seen anyone get out of their car to pray, it would be a beautiful sight. Yeah. You see, people have priorities. People definitely have, priorities. For a guy, I felt this more when, I had to lead the congregation in prayers for 11 months. After my father died, that's the main thing you think of every day, 3 times a day. Where am I going to pray? Where am I going to go? And you say, well, there's no shortage of synagogues. That's true, but there are other people also have obligations, right? You can't just push someone off either unless they agree or whatever. But that makes you think about the importance every single day you have to pray with a minyan. For a guy, woman doesn't have this obligation. But that's the main focus of your day in and day out, for 11 months. Where am I going to pray in the morning? Where am I going to pray in the afternoon? What about at night? Right? But that should always be our main focus. But it comes more into focus, during that time, when you have to lead the service. Someone asks, they're friends of mine, married, wear partial head coverings. How does that affect their observance? Ask them. I would say it weakens their observance. Anytime you take a shortcut doing anything, when it comes to religious observance, what's it going to do? It's going to make yourself weaker. It's going to make your resolve weaker to keep Torah mitzvahs properly. That's what it's going to do. Other people will say, well, it's better than nothing. Now, years ago, I would say no. It's like you're doing nothing. Today, I'd probably say the same thing. Probably wouldn't differ that much, because half your hair cover doesn't mean anything. You didn't do it. If I took a pomegranate with my lulav, is it the thought that counts? No, I didn't do the mitzvah. A woman to cover her hair, she didn't do the mitzvah. Would that make her weaker in other areas? Oh, I'm sure it does. I don't think there's any question. Don't think there's any question. Why? Because if you skimp on that, you skimp on other things. Yeah. My guess would be even what they wear. Maybe they wear miniskirts, above the knee. They don't cover their elbows. They don't cover their necklines with what they wear. Other things go hand in hand. If you're weak in one area, you're probably weak in other areas also. You might be stronger in some other areas, right? Then the question is, but the husband doesn't say anything. That's a problem. Should say something. Or get advice how to say something. Right? What if a guy doesn't get up in the morning to pray? Is it a woman's job for her to be his spiritual mentor? Anyone will tell you, will you get married? No, that's not your job. It's his job. Yeah, but he really has to dive in with a minyan. He has to get up and this and that. It's not a woman's job unless it's like really detrimental. So this can have other effects. So, a husband in that case has to, know how to navigate that. if you tell me, well, she's growing into Judaism and maybe at some point she'll get there, okay. Right? There are different levels, okay. It's not all or nothing at the beginning. If you tell me they've been that way for a long time, they don't really seem to want to change. They're happy, dressing like that. And I've seen by like young married couples, women, it's good to keep Torah mitzvahs, but what they dress is horrific. Some people wear tight skirts, that's forbidden, even if they're long. So what? If they're too tight, the whole point is shouldn't see the figure. Mini skirt all the more so. Like boggles my mind. Sometimes. And the only thing I can say is for these women, it's hard for them. That's the bottom line, it's hard for them. Some women have difficulty covering their hair. I know some people that have beautiful hair, or at least what they say. They have beautiful hair, it's hard for them to cover it. Even outside. People have different trials. Part of me thinks, I had a trial years ago, it wasn't really such a big thing. I had these really, really comfortable sandals, beautiful, comfortable sandals. The other Orthodox community, they don't wear them. Super comfortable, I can't even tell you. Better than Rockports. Stop wearing it. Right? Was it painful? It was hard. I'll tell you it was hard. But you know what? You do what everyone else does. You don't want to stick out. So part of me says, a woman's doing other things and their philosophical outlook on Judaism is very good and very strong. And they're, and if you see the way they dress, it's horrific. That's all I can say. It's horrific. They're not wearing pants, okay. But again, saw someone with the short skirt, with the slit in the back. I've seen long skirts also with a slit in the back. So like, if they walk, you can see their whole leg. How's that help? So I'd say, give the benefit of the doubt, depends where they're holding. But, for some women, this is a big issue. Some guys, they don't like to dress black and white or blue and white, or they like to wear colored shirts, another thing. That doesn't mean their philosophy, their Jewish outlook is bad per se. It's just they have a thing they don't like to wear it. They don't, not a question of conforming per se. They don't like the way it looks or whatever. So thank God, never had that issue either. Right? All my other shirts, they got rid of it. That was it. But the people have issues. It doesn't mean, we look at them like non-Jews just because of the way they dress. Now, I would say certain things, if you see how a person dresses, you can't judge by appearances. But you might think if a person wears a miniskirt, even if their hair is covered, could be other things they do are not problematic. That would be an easy assumption, but you can't judge that way. We don't have the right to judge anyway. But the other side, I would say, it's hard for them. It's very hard for them. So on the one hand, they can do other things. They can be skimping on other mitzvahs and different things, that makes sense. On the other hand, they can have very good, Jewish philosophy outlook, be super, super religious, but that's something that's hard for them. It's something that's very hard. It doesn't mean we look at them like a non-Jew, but it's a test. It's a major test for them. Somebody here asks, I understand graven image as a hand-hewed or carved idol, right? So I'm not looking to convert. Joy a few paintings on the wall. Yeah, there's an issue, depends what it is. If it's a picture of a human body, and looks like a human body, not just a bust, not just of a head, that would be a problem. If it's anything in the heavenly sphere, the sun, the moon, the stars, right, and it's seen in more than one dimension, pretty much, also a problem, right? Also definitely a problem, especially if it looks like that, right? I mentioned the other day, right? I used to have a tapestry that had the sun. Well, it was orange, like going down behind the coastal, behind the western wall, right? It definitely looked like the sun. Yeah, if anything that jarts out from the paper or from the canvas or whatever it is, and it looks like the sun, that can't have, unless like I would draw a smiley face on the sun or something like that. So I remember when I learned, I learned this many years ago. That was it. I got rid of it. I had a great picture, on top of Masada when I was much younger, much younger. You stand in a certain place, the sun comes up, you put your hand out like this, it looks like it's exactly in the sun. The sun's right in your hand. I get rid of that picture also. Right? So having certain animals, people would say. Because they're on the Kisei Kavod, God's heavenly throne. So if they're not made according to scale, I mentioned there was a parochus that covered a Torah scroll, covered the ark, had a picture of a lion on it. So I remember everyone came to my neighborhood for Shabbos. So I asked him about it after he spoke. So he looked at it twice. Looked at it once, looked at it a second time. He goes, "Okay, you know what a lion is." I'm like, "Thank you very much. I know what a lion is." Big compliment. Yeah. So he said, "But that's it's not drawn according to scale." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It was like a lion. It's a tapestry. So how is it permissible?" He said, "Look at the paw. Look at the foot. Yeah, it doesn't have enough toes like a normal lion does." So he said, "That's fine." Okay. Yeah. If it had the same number of toes on its paw, yeah, that would have been forbidden. Then that would have been forbidden. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. If you draw it, just like on Raisin Bran, they used to have this picture of the sun, right? Eyes and nose and a mouth and whatever. Okay, that's a different issue. That's fine. Yeah, but if it's something real, it looks like the sun, even if it's a painting, that's a problem. If it's a human, if it's a man or a woman, it doesn't really matter. Right, as long as it's not a full scale, right? I have a picture. I have an aunt made me a picture when I got married of looking like a rabbi with, a man with a beard, whatever, looking at, there was actually a wedding invitation, like reading a book in 3 dimensions. Right, beautifully done, 3 dimensions, been on 3 continents. Yeah, been on 3 continents and back. So, how's that permissible? Because it's not a full body. Right, the halacha is it's not a full body. So now you got to be careful. Not even a painting of people at the Koso. So, painting of the Koso, I would say if they're a full body, the halacha really is if it's more than 1 dimension. A painting is probably all right. Probably all right, as long as it doesn't jar it out. If it doesn't jar it out, I have to recheck this. But if a full human body, seemingly even in paintings, should be a problem. Should be a problem because it's not just 1 dimension. Seemingly, it's not 1 dimension. If a person did it on a piece of paper, that's a different issue. Might be a different issue, right? But a painting, if it's if it jars out, I have to double check. I think that's halacha though. It should be forbidden. It should be forbidden. But I think there are leniencies in such a thing. But whatever, that I have to double check. How can a complete good and merciful God torture someone forever in hell for working on Shabbos? Why? Who says it? Why should they get tortured in hell? Desecrating Shabbos is like you deny God's existence. One of the most severe prohibitions a person can do. Not only is it so severe, you deny God, you deny He created the world. So certain levels of hell will never get out of, right? Because of the severity of what he does. Death penalty, right? Death penalty. That's pretty severe, isn't it? So why should they get severely punished? Not only that, the certain things that a Jew does, they have the status of a non-Jew. One of them is desecrating Shabbos in public. Just learning today, the laws of Lashon Hara don't apply to such a person. Say whatever I want when I want. Why? Because they're not doing Ma'aseh Amcha. They're not doing the actions of your people. They're not doing the actions of your people. Right? Technically, I can speak about non-Jews as much as I want against them. Right? It's not a problem. Speaking against the Jew is a problem. Or it might not be a problem. Depends on the laws of Lashon Hara. Right? So in this case, that was one of the examples the Chofetz Chaim gave. Is the fact that the person desecrates Shabbos in public. Desecrates Shabbos in public and say whatever I want against it. They have a status of a heretic. It's the most severe prohibition. Death penalty. Death penalty in this world. So why would you think they shouldn't get severely punished? Well, you tell me maybe, okay, they'll get punished, but they won't get punished like that. Why? It's the most severe prohibition that anyone can do. Being homosexual is no different. No different also. What's their punishment going to be in the next world? It could be similar. Could be similar. They'll be stuck in Ganem forever. Just get destroyed. It's the most severe prohibition. You deny, desecrating Shabbat, you deny God, you deny He created the world. Why shouldn't you get punished for that? Doesn't matter what you know, what you don't know in this case. Even if you grew up as a potato farmer in Idaho. No offense, anyone's a potato farmer grew up in Idaho. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This, you have the status of a non-Jew. This, you lose your status of a Jew unless you repent. It's pretty darn well severe. Right? So why shouldn't they be tortured? Regardless of what they know. Right? Regardless of what they know, what they don't know. Somebody asked, let's clarify, women do not get reincarnated. Yeah, that's what I heard. Women do not get reincarnated. Why? Why? Why is that? Because, as this rabbi explained, women get it right the first time, unlike men. I mean, there could be other reasons. That's one reason I heard. Yeah, so women don't come back. Women don't go back because they're usually able to fix up whatever they need to fix up. Question: should we in the conversion process put tefillin on? Nope. Only right before conversion to learn how to put on tefillin. That is something that should not be done till right before conversion, and most people, they'll learn how to put on tefillin without the parchment in it, just to know how to put them on. That should not be done. Why is God not merciful in the afterlife? Who says He's not? I'll give you good advice. Read, what's the book called? Shari Tshuva, Gate to Repentance, third gate. Read the third gate, the severity of punishment of what we do in this world. After you read through it, then you ask the question again. If a person spits in God's face, you don't think it's going to be payback? They're going to be payback. They're for sure going to be payback. Doesn't mean it's going to get obliterated. They'll pay a serious price. Yeah. Doesn't mean you won't have a portion of the world to come. Depends what they did. God does have mercy. For sure He has mercy. Everybody should be obliterated. Most people should be obliterated in the next world. Very few people should make it to the next world. Think about it. If I was playing God, which thank God everyone would be happy I'm not, put on my funny George Burns glasses, my funny mustache, and you would ask me that question. If I were God, you know what my answer would be? That you spit in my face every single day. You give me lip service, you pray by, doing things by rote, which is akin to spiritual death. You don't think about what you do. You transgress, every last thing here, whatever, even if you're working hard. Why should I have mercy? I give you a golden opportunity. I give you life, give you food. I give you everything you need. I give you every last thing you need. This is how you respect me? So if I were playing God, I'd say, I should have mercy. I do have mercy. There's an attribute of mercy God has. It's not limitless. Not limitless. The fact that a person does not get totally destroyed in the next world, I'll give you homework. Before you go to sleep and your head hits the pillow, take a survey of what you did during the day. Yeah? Take a survey. So, pretend you were a Jew. You know how to know I did. Pretend you're a Jew. Yeah, we'll make it real graphic. Why? Because we got more obligations, many more obligations. Think about what you thought about during the day. Think about the blessings you made. Think about how much you learned or didn't learn. Think about your relationship between you and people during the day and what you said. Those are 5 things. Tell me someone's going to get higher than a B in general. Person mind wandered. They didn't pray with right intention. Not talking about Kabbalah. Spoke badly against others. They got angry. Other character traits, they messed up. Screamed at people, different things when they weren't allowed to. Think about what we do during the day. Now, when you think about what you did during the day, be honest. Be honest. Don't say I'm holding better than most people. And then be honest what you did, what you thought. And then ask the question again. And then ask if God's going to have so much mercy. Because if you know a heck of a lot more and you know better, what are you doing? One walked down the street and you looked. I don't care how she's dressed. Transgression. If you keep thinking about it, that's a huge transgression for a Jew. Non-Jew might be a moral imperative, but okay. Yeah. Think about that. Think about things they see, things they hear, things they wasted time with. I could have a whole laundry list of here. You won't get out of bed, I promise you. You will not get out of bed because you realize what a scrum you are. And we all are in general. Think about it. You read the Muslim books where we should be holding, what we should be doing. You're going to think the cream puff generation, right? It's the cream puff generation. But we have to hit a certain standard. How much patience does God have? He's not going to wipe people off the face of the map. He's going to have mercy for sure. For sure he's going to have mercy. Doesn't mean it's not payback, not serious payback, depending where the person's holding. That's what I would say. Someone asks, I know it's obligated to keep the customs of mourning the destruction of the temple. No. I would say they should think about the destruction a little bit. That's all they have to do. They don't have to do anything more than that. We all know how bad anti-Semitism is. What about anti-converts? That's also bad. What about anti-Baalei Tshuva? Returning to Judaism. What about family ostracizes them? It's also bad. Self-hating Jews. Plenty of them out there. Plenty. Yeah. Yeah. They're even disgusted by Ruth. Yeah. And she brought the bloodline of David HaMelech, right? Right? So there are a number of prohibitions of not making converts feel bad. Because we were, what do you call it? We were strangers in a strange land. Right? So we had to treat converts properly. And many, many prohibitions. Again, I'm going to mention this. God himself will fight the wars for orphans and widows and converts. Baalei Tshuva also. Right? A Jew didn't grow up religious and became a religious Jew. Became an Orthodox Jew. So now, there are all these prohibitions against reminding, a convert of what they did in the past, speaking badly against them, and but I don't want to do anything with them and all this. Yeah, that's 100% true. That's 100% true. Now, that being the case, that being the case, how can they do it? How can Jews do it? And Jews say things that they shouldn't say. It's totally wrong. Right? But I would say, so the point I wanted to make was that God is going to fight their wars for them. No intermediaries, no messengers. God himself, I would say like this, no matter what you think, you got to careful what you think also. I would say before you open your big mouth, anybody who's going to say anything against converts or whatever, before they open their mouth, think twice and three times. Because the bottom line is God's going to fight that war. No messengers. God himself. You want to start up with God? I don't think you want to. Just a hunch. Why do people do it? We're our own worst enemy. I had a student of mine once doing certain things before conversion. And a Jew, an Orthodox Jew said to them, well, you think you're so holy? You're not even Jewish yet. Why are you doing that? That's a severe prohibition. Remind them of the past is a severe prohibition. You can ask them why they wanted to convert, different things. Can't make fun of them. You can't remind them about Tshuva. I remember you used to eat shrimp. I remember you used to do this. Torah prohibition. Torah prohibition. People do it. I've heard it. I've definitely heard it. Orthodox Jews get it also. Come back to Judaism. Also get it. I don't know if it's any less than converts, depending who it is. How could they do it? How do people make fun of others? Because they enjoy it. They put people down to make themselves look better. Why do you think they do it? Makes them feel guilty. You say, I'm not Jewish enough. I didn't say you're not Jewish enough. I didn't say you're not Jewish. I said your mother's not Jewish, or there's a doubt, then it'd be a problem. Doesn't mean you're not Jewish. Say, oh, you don't think I'm as good. It's not for me to judge. That's the answer. God says what you have to do, what you don't have to do. Right? What your obligations are. In God's eyes, are you doing the right thing? No. How do I know? Because that's what the Torah says. I believe in the Torah. I believe God spoke to Moses, passed it down. Very good. So you get a problem. You get a problem with God, not with me. I'm just upholding what he says. But you don't think I'm Jewish. I didn't say you weren't Jewish. You're just not doing what God says. That's okay. There'll be repercussions, whether in this world, the next world, or both. There will be repercussions, no question about it. Yeah, that's why people say things, because they feel inferior. Why would an Orthodox Jew say that to a convert? Why are you doing this? You're not even Jewish yet. Why would they say that? Because they're doing something they don't do. And they say, oh, you think you're going to be more strict? They're not really Jewish. Nobody's saying that. Live and let live. They do what they do. Fine. You don't like it. You don't like it. So they're not doing anything wrong. And most people say they're not doing anything wrong. So why they give them a hard time? Because they give them a hard time. I can understand. Non-Jews giving them a hard time. That I hear. Because, why going to be a Jew and the JC and they killed them and this and all this stuff. That I get. And their Bible thinkers you're going to find out forever. That I understand. That I understand because you're rejecting everything that, you've been taught. That makes sense. But again, about you, it's the same thing. You're rejecting your parents. You're rejecting what you learned. You're rejecting all this. Makes sense. You're not ramming it down their throat. You have to do certain things you can't do. Okay. You don't like it, go eat Google. I got plenty of people who speak to me to this day because of what I do. Or what I didn't do before. So what am I going to do? And these same people, they'll make fun and they'll say, that's your version. That's okay. I'm not going to waste my time arguing with them. Not going to listen anyway. I just saw it today, by the way. By the way, it's learning all these laws of Lashon Hara from the Gemara. And in laws of Yom Kippur, right? There's no question how far you have to go to give rebuke. Some say you have to give rebuke up to the point where they're going to smack you. Some people say, some rabbinic authorities hold that you have to give rebuke until they curse you. Basically, until they curse you. Yeah. So what about? So it comes out according to halacha. What about someone who's a secular Jew, and they're not going to listen? Do you still have to rebuke them, even if it's something explicit in the Torah? So I just thought today, no, I don't have to rebuke them, even if it's something explicit in the Torah. If it's the halacha comes out, if it's something explicit in the Torah, I should rebuke them, even if they don't listen. But a secular Jew, I saw brought down, they have an obligation. No obligation to rebuke them. Because they have a din of a non-Jew. So not doing my samchas, that's for non-Jew. I don't have to rebuke them. I don't have, any obligation at all. But the Torah says, you got an obligation to rebuke them. Okay, depends what case. They're not going to listen. In some cases, you have to rebuke them. If you have a doubt, then then you should rebuke them. In most cases, if they're not going to listen, you don't have to rebuke them. You have to know for sure they're not going to listen. If they're not going to listen, you don't have to rebuke them. So then I looked up something else. Said, what about a secular Jew today? Oh, good. My question. Exactly my question. Not to rebuke secular Jews are not going to listen. According to this, no. They don't have status of a Jew anymore. They desecrate Shabbos in public. They don't have a status of a Jew. I don't have to rebuke them. I don't have to feel bad about not rebuking them. Question is there an obligation? I said no. No obligation. But it would be in certain cases an obligation, even if they're going to curse you, even if they're about to hit you. That's how far it goes. Yeah. But at the end of the day, anyone says anything against converts of Bali Tshuva, especially if they're Jews, they get serious prohibitions on them. They can repent, But I'll tell you, they're going to be in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Because God himself is going to knock them out. He's not going to send any intermediaries over here. Intermediaries, let me get that straight. He's going to knock them out himself. He's going to defend them himself. Why would you want to start up? Why would you want to start? People do. You gonna say people don't know the prohibition? No, I think people know the prohibition. So why do they do it? I can come up with a few reasons. One is they think they're holier than thou. They think they're coming in. They're gonna make us look bad. Yeah, one possibility. So they make fun of them. Problem. It's a different problem, right? If they're a convert, they're not a convert. It's a different issue. It's like any non-Jew. So really, according to the Chofetz Chaim, I can speak as much Lashon Hara against them as I want. Now, when I do that, is it a good thing? It's not a good thing for you. Could just lash out any non-Jew you want for whatever reason, right? It's not Lashon Hara, but not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing, right? And even when you speak Lashon Hara, you have to know all the criteria. You have to fit all the criteria. Not everything is for a benefit. Not everything is for a benefit. That's all I say. But you're right. There are plenty of anti-Semites out there, that say all kinds of things against converts, against Jews, and I'm talking about anti-Semites that are Jews. Non-Jews, I understand. Non-Jews, 100% I understand. Especially their Bible thumpers. Jews have more issues. And more liability over here. Rav Chaim Brisker once said, brought down Rabbi Yerucham once said, Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz, the spiritual mentor of the Mir Yeshiva many years ago, said, brings down in Das Torah's commentary on Chumash, and he says, by Esav hating Yaakov, he says, anti-Semitism is in the air. It exists. He said, why is it every non-Jew doesn't walk down the street and hit a Jew? Why not? Well, I'll tell the other story first. The other story was, Rabbi Yerucham was walking, I don't know, wherever he was going, and two non-Jewish kids were playing ball. Ball went over one of the kids' heads. He bent down to pick it up. As he gave it to this non-Jewish kid, the kid slapped him. Kid slaps an adult? I don't know where the kid slapped him. So Rabbi Yerucham said, where did he get it from? How does this non-Jewish kid know to hit me? So he said, there's a general rule. Esav sones Yaakov. Esav hates Jacob. You say Jacob deserved it. Look what he did. He dressed himself up and he stole the blessing. Okay, forget all that. There's a general rule, and that's going to exist until the end of time, till Messiah comes. But he took it one step further. He said the name of Chaim Brisker, one of the Torah giants, more than 200 years ago. Chaim Brisker said, if I walk down the street, why doesn't a non-Jew come and pummel me? Why should he come hit me and say, wow, non-Jew is more refined than that? Why doesn't he do it? You know why? You know why he doesn't do it? Because he's lazy. He said, but there's inner hatred between Jews and non-Jews. There's just inner hatred. We make it worse by doing things that we shouldn't do. That brings out the ire, the anger of them by what we do. Someone's going to say, come on. You really think that? Maybe he's talking his own generation. Somebody in Congress who said, what we do here in Israel is apartheid. Like, you can't say anything more anti-Semitic than that. It's like the furthest thing from the truth. Arabs in this country live better than any other country. Treated better than any other country. I mean, treat them so well, they kill us. Yeah. And that's, that's their ideal. But they're living freer in many ways more than any other place. Call it apartheid? They chose it themselves. To live in their places, and they chose it. But even without that, apartheid? A little bit much. And we're killing, tens of thousands of babies and this and that. Okay, it's also lying. Arabs are very good at lying. So what do? You send pamphlets, all over Gaza and say, listen, we're going to bomb, get all the women and children out there, and they use them as human shield. What do you want? What should we do? Innocent people are going to get killed. We try not to kill innocent people. Okay. In war, you do whatever it takes. So if they would go in and just invade Gaza. The whole place is booby trap. And booby trap with civilians. And, it's going to be the next Vietnam. They'll never do it. They'll never, ever do it. But that's how you start the problem. That's the only way you start the problem. That's it. What are you going to do? They're using human civilians. Right? They're using civilians. So what are you supposed to do? It's a no-win situation. But they want to be the most moral army out there. Okay. But they can do whatever you want, whatever they want, you can't do anything back. Kind of hard. Right? It's very hard. Civilians will get killed in the process. It's going to happen. They'll try their best not to do it. They'll think, what are the civilians getting killed? Where are they living? They use them as human shields. Using schools. They demolished the UN school a number of years ago, and they were jumping up and down, yelling, screaming. Yeah, they were shooting rockets from this place. They destroyed another place where CNN and some other, people that say, oh, we never knew they were using this building for rockets. Really? You know what a rocket looks like? These things are pretty big. Not something you can hide, you just didn't notice coming into work today. Didn't happen to see rockets going off, did you? Oh, that's a different type of journalism. Come on, we're not, use your head over here. So they have a right to defend themselves, yeah. Everyone, most people would agree. They have a right to defend themselves, true. But, a major catch-22. Major catch-22. They just have to give land, not going to get into politics, but they have to give land back. They want a defensive war. No one's ever done such a thing in the history of man. Except you had this exchange of population between Pakistan and India, right, in the 70s. That's it. You don't have any other case almost in history like that. They fought a defensive war. They didn't attack. And you go back to those 67 lines, you can't defend the country. It's the heart of the country. The heart of the country. You can't defend it. And all they want is to stick us in the sea. That's all they want. That's all they're born and bred in. So, who are we making peace with there? We got plenty of anti-Semites out there. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. But one thing for sure, they still remind us we're Jews. You can't hide. Can't hide over here. Someone else asks, fine Jewish converts, what are your opinion about Thomas Friedman? He shouldn't be allowed to write. What he writes is just pure poison. What he writes about the land of Israel, what he writes about Orthodox Jews in general. New York Times, famous New York Times. How many articles they wrote, over the last year against Orthodox Jews? That's not slander. I don't know what is. Libel. I mean, it's just horrific. Is it shocking? Not shocking. That's who they are. They don't lie. That's who they are. That's what they think. It's just what they write. It's further from the truth. If this person talking about, we've taken over the land, it's not ours, and this and that, all these lies everyone's been perpetuating for the last, 50 years. You shouldn't read what he says. Burn what he says. He gives over, the bottom line of what everyone else thinks. What everyone else in the media thinks. We're the big boys. We got all these weapons. These people never did anything wrong. They deserve the land just as much as we do. The freedom fighters are not terrorists. But they'll say in the same breath, we have a right to defend ourselves. Yeah, we do. But you got to be careful in your retaliation. But let me make one thing clear. Use America as an example. Imagine Texas. Texas today was being bombed by Mexico. Mexicans are sending bombs left and right, missiles left and right into Texas. You think the people in Texas are going to say, hey, we need to, we defend ourselves. We're going to have the army, this and that. Mexico be flattened like a pancake. Civilian casualties, other casualties, doesn't matter. They would go in and take care of business. Nothing to talk about. No one bat an eyelash. Nobody. Why? Can't live in peace. You're sending these missiles. You're sending all these missiles. They would flatten the place. I don't think there's anything to talk about. Israel's trying to do their best, defend themselves, this, that. Not kill civilians. I get it. Trying to be the most moral place. Okay. But you can't always do that. Civilians will get killed. Especially when you use them as human ships. So what are you supposed to do? Why are we held to a double standard? The only democracy in the Middle East, and we've been condemned more times than any other country combined in the UN. And we're only 1/1000th of the world's population. Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. One little strip of land, no bigger than the size of the state of New Jersey. 22 Arab countries surrounding it. Yeah. A lot of things don't make sense, but, Jewish people, everything happens for them. Right? So a lot of things happen to us, and it's not logical. Totally not logical. How we survived. Somebody asks, little miniature model of the Beis Hamikdash. Is it allowed? Yeah, that's not a problem. It's not a problem. If you tell me you had like a menorah, like the size of, like the one that used to be in Jerusalem and similar thing, yeah, that would be a problem. But, miniature Beis Hamikdash shouldn't be a problem. Should not be a problem. Artists from Sfat, men praying at the Koso. Yeah. So, again, that I have to look into. It should be, I don't know, from what I remember, drawing a picture of a human in full form, right? Whether it's a painting or anything else should be forbidden. Right? I have to double check that. Could be in a painting, it's all right. Could be, right? I'll double check that. I'll definitely double check that. Are not keeping Shabbos in marriage to a non-Jew equally unacceptable? No. Why does a non-Jew have to keep Shabbos? They don't have to keep Shabbos. Non-Jew keep Shabbos like a Jew, they're liable for death penalty. So certain things of Shabbos they can do, but if they start saying I'm not going to do certain certain categories of forbidden work, that's a different issue. Right? That is definitely a different issue because it's like they're making up a new religion. Yeah. If it's a non-Jew in the process of conversion, yeah, then they're allowed to, except they have to break Shabbos on purpose. 1 second. I think I misread it here. We're not keeping Shabbos in marriage to a non-Jew. Married to a non-Jew is a level of death penalty. Well, actually, Shabbos is worse. Right? I misread the question. For a Jew, keeping Shabbos, if you don't keep Shabbos, it's worse than marrying a non-Jew. Punishment's more severe. Marrying a non-Jew, don't get me wrong, it's a pretty severe prohibition. Yeah, but it's not the same punishment. It's not the same punishment as Shabbos. Right? So they're not equal. Definitely not equal. But the problem is, a person marries a non-Jew, or they're with a non-Jew, either way, it's basically, there's a certain red line. There's certain red lines for Jews. Into marriage is a pretty severe red line. In that sense, you're just like gone way too far. Now, desecration of Shabbos or keeping kosher, other things also have ramifications. Right? But most Jews who belong to a synagogue, let's say they belong to a synagogue, if you were to ask them according to the Bible, yes or no, no buts. Is a Jew allowed to marry a non-Jew or be with a non-Jew? And they'll say no, but no buts. They know. So a secular Jew not associated with a synagogue, they'll say it doesn't matter. No relevance. Right? No relevance to it. But there's another thing just keep in mind that some people think eating pig like it's the worst thing about the kashrus laws. It's like most severe prohibition. And the answer is if I eat certain bugs, I can transgress 5 or 6 prohibitions in one shot. Pig is only one. But say, but look what pig is, and it's so it's got one kosher part of it, one way that's kosher, one way it's not kosher. At the same time, people say, oh, like it's so bad. You're right. Seemingly it's bad, but it's not worse than eating a bug. eating certain bugs is 5 to 6 times worse. I would say. Yeah, let me see the other questions here. Whoops. Someone asked, Star of David of the Israeli flag legit, according to the Torah. Is it legit? If it's got 5 points, I don't know. Could be. Could be like a regular Star of David. I'm not sure. The afterlife is even worse than this world. Why can't God just create a peaceful and beautiful world? He did. He did till you get to Genesis chapter 3. Once you get, once you get to Genesis chapter 3, everything changed. Why did it change? Because man ate from the tree. Man ate from the tree, and then you have murder. Cain kills Abel. It's all downhill from there. He wanted a peaceful world. We messed it up. That was the ideal. 100%. That's the ideal. But we ourselves messed it up. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion and Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Torah portion of the week, Q&As, ethics of our fathers, controversial issues, Book of Leviticus. We'll remind everyone I put out there, anyone interested in learning how to deal with, rejection, all kinds of issues they've gone through in life, whether livelihood issues, issues with family, health issues, different things. I am opening up, possibly, setting up a forum for that, either as a group or one-on-one. So anyone interested, any of that can text me. Otherwise, you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman@gmail.com.